right, class, welcome to Paper Collage, and this is going to be our cupcake project, and we're going to create this wonderful cupcake on a wonderful background. So this is part one. What I need you to do is think about what you want in your background of your cupcake. And of course, it's paper collage, so we're going to be tearing up a bunch of paper. I went to the printer and I printed me out a bunch of recipes from a book and made those recipes the background for my cupcake project. And you know how we've always done it. We're just going to tear off all these pieces, and we're going to put them onto a canvas panel, onto cardstock, whatever you happen to have, and you're going to glue it all down until you have a background like this. Now, this is going to be part one. This is going to take you a while to do. So I want you to think about what you want in the background of your cupcake. Is it going to be confetti? Is it going to be, you know, like surprise, happy birthday, whatever you want to do? Be thinking about what's good for the actual piece of art work. And you're going to get a panel and you're going to tear up all your pieces and you're going to put them all down and have it ready to go for part two of this lesson, where we're going to cut up all the pieces for our cupcake and collage them on top. Thanks a lot. All right, guys, this is part two of your paper collage cupcake, and you should have this photo in your reference pages in an email that I sent to all of your parents. Now, I'm going to actually cut this out in order to have it as a guideline, because I don't want you to have trouble cutting little bitty things or having a problem. I'm not even cutting this 100% perfect. It's just going to give me an idea of not only the size, but some of the curves of the frosting and some of the vertical lines in the cupcake, the little paper part of the cupcake, the little holder, and where everything is going to go. Now I'm going to actually cut this into a full cupcake size. I'm cutting away the shadow of the cupcake, so just know we're going to go back and put that in on the right side. And when I printed this, I obviously ran out of yellow right on that line. So our shadow will be on the bottom right. So this would be kind of where the shadow would go over here. So this is going to be our guide, or our pattern for our cupcake. Now, I cut out some different pictures. I went into a magazine and I found this scene, and this is where this piece of paper, this little curved part piece of paper for the top of my cupcake came from. And then I found some brown strips, and I thought, well, that's going to be the shadowed side of the curves of my chocolate icing here, or the top part of the icing, since the picture's so low. And I found a little picture of some pretty colors. So your cupcake can be any color you want it to be. So if you want a strawberry cupcake, you're going to look for something pink. If you want a chocolate cupcake, then you're going to look for something brown. If you get to choose however your cupcake is going to be, and you're just going to use this as a template. Okay, and so I found a beautiful scene picture of this water that I loved, and I thought, well, wouldn't that be pretty as the dark stripes? Because the cupcake holders that I have at home have like a little print to them, and so they're not just this solid color as in this one. So I'm going to save all of these pieces of paper until I'm done, so that I can make sure that I have enough, like if I wanted to go back in and make more swirls on the top of the frosting, or if I need some more of the chocolate. If you couldn't tell, my my magazine is definitely a clothing magazine, but if I needed some more chocolate, then I have those scraps as well. Don't throw anything away till the project is completed to your liking. Now, in step 1, you created this background, and I created mine with a, this is a bunch of recipes, and see where it says dessert and creme brulee, custard, delicious. You know, I used all those words as part of the design of my art piece here, and our cupcake is going to fit in, you know, just like this. This is an 8x10 size. You can use whatever size you have. The paper in your sketchbooks is going to be, I think it's 7x10. So it's so close to this, like take a little 1/2 inch off of both sides. This is an 8x10. So I'm going to put the top part of my cupcake. Well, look at there. That's probably not going to show up very much up against this background without me doing a wash in the background at the very end. And I'm going to show you guys how, I wanted to show you guys how to do that anyway. So we're just going to start by putting down our cupcake pieces. Now, I know that some of you don't have magazines at home, and I know that some of you don't have you know, like the books of papers that I have up at the school and stuff that we use a lot of. And so when I was going through my closet doing some cleaning out, I came across all of these fun bags that I have a ton of. And I bet your parents have a ton of too. But look at this. This was going to put a little bit of shine into you know, part of your cupcake or whatever. Or if I wanted to make some small sprinkles, this actual cupcake has some sprinkles on it. If you wanted to do that, you could add a cherry on top, whatever. But on the other side, it's got these taupe colors, and I think it's very pretty as well. And you could do that. I found another bag that had gold dots on it, but on the other side, it's like these gradations. It almost looks like it goes from dark to light, and wouldn't that make some great sprinkles or whatever? And so we have all of these different ways that we can figure out a way to do paper collage. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, I don't have any glue, so I'm having to use pouring medium, or this is pouring medium. Medium is just what's in paint without any pigment. And pouring means that it flows, so it's more like glue. So I don't know if y'all can see that. Make sure you always cover your space before you get started with anything. And this is the papers that I printed out all of the background from. So I'm just going to use that as if I get any glue on anything. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is you can go ahead and make just, you know, cut some crazy curly shapes and stuff like that to be the icing, and you can glue them down to your bottom piece, right? And I always, you know, just put the glue down first, right? And then figure out where you want that to go, and then glue it down. Just like we do in class, right? So we're going to put a little glue through here somewhere. Sorry about that. I'm just move these two off. And what I was going to say is, if you just make some curvy lines that are at least the length and width of your the top part of your cupcake, which I'm not so sure. Well, it's already glued. No, I can do it. Nope, I can't. Okay, more glue. Glue it back down. I think I had this one going the other way. Like this should be at the top and this thicker piece at the bottom, but you know, we're going to go with it as it is. And so you're just going to do this with glue, or if you have the Mod Podge, you know, that works really well because that's what we use in class. And we're going to put another one coming through here. And this is just going to make the swirls of the icing, right? I think I like it that way. All right, so there's the top of my cupcake. And I actually did it this way so that I can show you when you make a pattern, you don't always have to have everything absolutely perfect and have to remember how everything goes and whatnot. And you can just trim off any edges that you have. And this particular cupcake kind of goes, it kind of goes in and out anyway. So it's probably better for me to go ahead and let this dry first. But I just wanted you to see, you can kind of shape after everything is glued. It's going to be stiff anyway. So you can come in and just shape the side of your cupcake. Okay, so see how it has this little ripply shape? But I'm going to set that aside and let it dry and talk to you about the cupcake holder. Well, that's just what I'm going to call it because I don't know. The little paper that you make the cupcakes in. Okay, now you'll notice that it's a little bit smaller on the bottom than it is on the top. That is so close that, whoops, that it's so close in size. I'm sorry, I was looking for my cupcake. I actually cut out a piece of cupcake and was going to show you that. It's probably over here amongst all these little pieces, and I'm probably going to need to find that in just a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just where the cupcake paper is, I'm going to add a little bit of that medium. And don't make this, super thick. You just want a little bit in case you need to reposition something. And you're going to just put a thin coat of glue, Mod Podge, whatever you happen to have, onto your cupcake. And then I'm going to do a set of stripes that go from lighter to darker. Notice it's darker on this side of the cupcake, and that's why we know the shadow is going to go over there. Notice the shadow of the icing on the cupcake itself is on the right as well. So I'm going to start with the lighter colors, and I'm going to do little strips. Then I'm going to glue that down, just like we do in class. Then I'm going to take a darker strip and put it right next to it. And it's already wet underneath, so I'm just painting on top. And I'm going to do that with all of my pieces here. There we go. And you can just layer them up. And remember, you're going to put the cake on top here. So if your edges are jagged, that's okay. Just be thinking. And then at the very end, we're going to take this and cut off all the excess. So I'm going to just keep layering these without commentary. Now, where I've glued this and it's a little bit off, I can just come back with, I've got plenty of the paper that I saved, so I can just come back with a little skinnier strip there. You don't have to worry about that. Whoops. Oh, well, it's stuck down now. It's kind of hard to move. I just dropped a blue somewhere. I may have to make some more. I tried to make sure I had plenty. Oh, just found my cupcake. It was underneath the blue. This is going to be the body of the cupcake, so I'm going to have a chocolate cupcake since I'm having a vanilla top. Oops, that's a blue. Like this color. Blue. Baby blue. Getting down to the end of my paper here. Didn't get this glue all over the table. And we're just gonna give that a little final coat, making sure everything is glued to each other. And I can easily use the back of the picture. I'm gonna trim a little bit off of there. I'm gonna trim a little bit off of there. Then I'm really gonna look at it and see where I need to place my, not only my cupcake, but to have the right shape for the little cup thing. Okay, so this is my cupcake, and notice it's rounded on the edges, and then it was kind of straight through here. So I cut out a piece of for chocolate, and I'm going to actually put it on the top of all of these pieces of my cupcake. Oops. Need a little bit down first. Remember, you always paint a little bit down first, and then you're going to put it on there. So I'm going to lay my brush down so I don't get stuff everywhere. Make sure you have plenty of room for your cupcake. Ooh, this piece might be a little too short. I'm thinking it is. We're going to go with it just because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I'm going to come back and cut this sides a little bit to fit the new cupcake shape. And then I'm going to come back to our the top piece. Well, see, that fits so much better anyway. All right. This kind of needs to dry just a little bit so I can trim off all of the excess. So I'm actually going to follow the chocolate cupcake and cut that off. Make sure yours is nice and dry or you're going to get your mom's scissors sticky, so we don't want to do that. Then I'm going to cut off some of this excess from the cupcake wrapper. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to come in around my chocolate and cut off the cupcake that's showing through still. And then I'm going to just kind of trim it to go a little bit at an angle like this. I'm going to turn it over, and that way I can see how to trim off all of these extra pieces along the bottom. So when doing this project, you probably have to do a little bit and then walk away, let it dry. And then do a little bit more, walk away. So I'll be planning on doing that. So this is going to be the top of our cupcake. So since I've made this smaller, I'm going to end up having to make this smaller as well. So that's okay. I'm just going to make it quite a bit smaller. It's not like any of this is going to show through in the final piece. So I'm just going to take that, whoops, take that off. In order to finish out where the orange doesn't show here, I'm going to go back to that light blue page. And here she is. And find me some of this this blue. I was thinking I might have some little pieces, but yeah. And so I'm going to go ahead and put those in. Doesn't need to be very big. That might be a little brighter, but you know what? That's okay. It just means the light's hitting it. So, a little bit of glue. There it is. A little bit of top glue. A little bit of glue over here. Oops, I was going to cut that in half. I was going to cut it in half in order to use the other half for this little piece where I didn't cut my strips just perfect, but I can always go back and make that line longer, or you know, however I want to do that. Okay, now that this top piece is dry, I'm going to do the same kind of wave that I did on the top of the other piece. And so I'm making little cut marks, little indentions in between each of these little parts. I went around the corner and just need to let that finish off. Okay, so this is going to be the top part of our cupcake. So we're going to paint that in. And just stick it on top for now. I didn't go all the way to the edges. So there is our frosting. In case anything showed through. So there's a little bit showing through there. There's a little bit showing through there. So I can go back in and trim that before I put it down to my my background that you've already made. I can't wait to see what you guys are doing in your backgrounds. They're so fun. When I found this old recipe book of my mom's, I thought that would be perfect. A recipe for a cupcake. I mean, how hard would that be? So, now we have our background, which was done last time. It's dry. We're going to figure out where we want to put our cupcake. And we're going to put a little bit of glue onto the paper. And you could literally just pour this on your background if you wanted to, because I'm running out. Oh my goodness. Didn't want to open. Paper collage, all about the different papers. Doing some fun things with bits and pieces of everything. So we're going to put our cupcake on here. And then we've got to collage it down as well. So I'm going to go up underneath the edges now and then collage that down to the background. You know how you have to kind of push every once in a while. So go right up underneath the edge, push that down. As you have plenty of glue on the back already. So it should be plenty of glue. Up underneath the edge. Now, I know some of you were working on some independent projects towards the end of class. So hopefully y'all are getting a chance to finish those if you took them home for spring break. But if you didn't, hopefully we can finish them another time. And I'm just kind of pushing out some of the air bubbles that are in there. Because the background's not nice and smooth, you know. It's bumpy and lumpy from all these bits and pieces of torn paper. Okay, so once you get your background in, you want to pick something that is going to be like a contrast color. And I was just going to use a light wash of white. And so I have my brush right here. But I didn't bring my water. Well, you don't want to paint without water, so I'm going to be right back. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of acrylic painting. If you don't have that, you know, you can use, if you have water-soluble markers and stuff like that, you can draw with the marker and then add water to fade it away. But this is just a real thin coat, and you can do it in any color. It does not have to be white. I only use this to set off this chocolate, kind of a devil's food looking color. And then you're just going to fill that all in. Now, make sure that you're working on a surface that's okay to use paint, guys. And if you're wearing your new clothes, go take them off. You're at home. Go ahead and get on some of your older clothes. Put on an apron, whatever you need to do to make sure you don't get any of this acrylic paint on you. Take your time, go slow around, and you can even do like the shadow side would be like, you know, a medium blue or something like that, and then as it came around to the highlight side, it could turn into a light blue. You get to be the creative architect of this piece of artwork. I can't wait to see what you guys are doing. Daria, I just loved your butterfly. Guys, y'all are so amazing. Alexa, I can't wait to see your flower. Make sure y'all are sending me those pictures. Makes my day sitting here at home all the time. I like to see my creative kids getting creative. I am running out of white, so I'm going to get just a little bit more. There it goes. There we go. And I need to water that down because I don't want it to be like really thick paint in any way. And once you put this on, if you decide that you don't like that color, or you know, you could blend it with another color. There isn't any reason you couldn't paint over some of this paper collage as well. So this kind of has turned into almost a muddy color. I kind of wanted it to look like Devil's Food. Used to be one of my favorites, but you know, can't really have that anymore. So, you know, it's got that kind of medium chocolate cover icing with the little bits of pecan and coconut and whatnot in it. It's delicious. So I'm going to leave that for now, just this one coat. And I'm going to come back to that if I decide it needs to be brightened up in some other way. I think the light side of my cupcake and stuff like that, you know, I kind of want to put a little bit on it. So if you want to do that too, you can just kind of put a little bit of color on the light side of your cupcake. I'm just barely touching the surface. Water is going to help lift it off of any surface you don't want it on. Like these are my undersides of the icing, you know, the twisting part of it. So I don't want any white on that part. But I might put just a little bit on the cake itself down here. The pouring medium is so slick. I'm not sure how much this paint's going to show once it dries, but who knows? It might be kind of an interesting thing. So I'm going to add a little bit of white. I'm coming over to my towel and cleaning out the extra paint on my brush before I go to the water. Otherwise, you're just going to dirty up your water really fast. And then I'm just going to, there's no water in my brush, and I'm just going to kind of drag that lighter color over the light side. I don't know, I don't think I like it on the dark. So I'm going to lift that off a little bit. That's interesting. Okay, so we're going to let this paint part be drying and be thinking about our shadow. Now, I always like to kind of sketch in where I'm going to want to put that. Tape sticking to my fingers. And with the highlight coming in over here, obviously the shadow is going to be on this side. And we know that from our original picture, the that we cut out, that the shadow is over onto the right side. It's not very long, really, and it's very triangular. So we're going to come in underneath. This paint is still wet, so it may not come in like that. And you know how on our girl we kind of drew in some eyelashes, or we kind of did some pin work on top of some of the pieces that we've done. It's kind of a mixed media instead of just, you know, pure paper collage. So I'm honestly thinking, instead of cutting out a piece of paper like that, that I may want to go in with like a Sharpie or something like that. But this is what it would look like if I did do the shape. Now, the reason I haven't drawn that in 100% with the Sharpie and like just kind of sketched through the paint there is so I could see how far I want to go. I'm just going to cut this little triangle out so I can kind of tell where I want that to go. And it goes back a little farther, and then just cut it off. And it is going to go yeah. Since we're adding this on at the end, it may be a little bit harder to design where you want this, but I thought if it went into this stripe here, that I could easily create a shadow and then it would make a little blue line across the bottom as well. And so I've got this long strip here, and we're going to put the shadow on. It would look like this. So there's going to be a little bit of a wrinkle right there because I'm trying to turn the paper. You know, when we curve the paper, we end up with that little wrinkle. So I can either cut a slit and then put the two pieces of paper together, which I think I'll do. Got a little bit of paint on there from my hands, and the background is still a little bit wet. Okay. So this could be the shadow of my cupcake. I am going to lift up this little piece and curve it all the way around. Like that. I'm just pressing it into that wet paint at this point. And when the paint is dry, I'm going to do a clear coat over the top. So I'm thinking this is kind of fun. So keep going with anything that you want to do. I like this light blue stripe through here. I might go back in and put some, especially on the light side. And you can always cut out, I found these little pictures in the magazine. It's got a little bottle of pink and a little yellow and some teal on one of the pages of these, the girl where I got the blues from. And I could cut out little sprinkles and stuff like that to add to them. I kind of wanted to get a hole punch to do that. So I'm going to let that creative process be up to you. Like I said, you want some pink paper if you're going to do a strawberry cupcake, or some red paper if you're going to do red velvet, or some brown is what I use because I like chocolate. So feel free to get, you know, as creative with this as you want to. You can actually come in and do some more colors in the background in order to, you know, make that more interesting. You could even come in and, you know, maybe draw a line, and from here it's a little bit darker, so it looks like the cupcake sitting on a table. If you went round like this, it looked like the cupcake sitting on a plate. So however you want to do your cupcake, I want you to have fun and to just explore all the fun parts of paper collage class. Please send me your pictures. I can't wait to see them. Y'all have fun doing the cupcake.